Right, good afternoon everybody once again. Another Sutta study. You all remember how many years we've been having this study so far? More than, is it 10 years already?
Yeah, I think so.
More than 10 years, huh? Wow. Time flies, huh? And we also coming to the end of this volume, Okay, two more short suttas coming, and then we'll come to a new volume. As usual, if you have any ideas, themes, or even suttas that you are curious about, you can email me, you can let me know, and then we'll select the volume where we have that kind of topic. Just let me know, otherwise we'll select it ourselves. Another happy piece of news is you can see this beautiful, well-designed book by one of our friends called Loving Words. This is volume 3 from the, what's called, my weekly reflections. Every week I send out reflections to people. So this is called the Happy Book. Of course, it's also called a thinking book. There are two parts here. Happy book, certain people come to us with problems, right? And kind of a very long talk with this person. So instead of that, you can tell the person, why don't you read up? There's always something here for different people. I've written this because people write to me or people tell me their problems, For example, we have one feedback from JB, this wonderful lady said, she received one of my booklet that are printed in Malaysia. The Malaysian group, they selected articles. They printed one very nice little book. And somehow this lady, this book is printed in Penang, and then she got it in Johor Bahru. She said she's so happy because previously she had lots of problems with marriage and so on, and she was so lonely. And when she read this book, she felt so happy. So sometimes little things like this, can uplift our spirit. This is what the Dharma is about, to make us happy. And you notice that each article is from at the most around 2 A4 pages, because we don't like to read too long articles. So I restrict myself to that kind of length every week. So it's like writing an essay, And then most of you finish your secondary school, you're so happy, you don't need to write essays anymore. But I have to write essays to the end of my life. They're called Dharma reflections. Anyway, I write them happily. Because you can't just write. You got to get into the right mood, and at the same time, you're not going to write an editorial or literary criticism. It's a Dharma reflection, because you're going to talk about Dharma to people. At the same time, we want to relate to daily life. So sometimes I use literature, sometimes I use current events, sometimes I use lives of people. My favorite are people who suffer. People who suffer have a lot to teach us. Those who don't suffer, no matter how rich we may be, we can have very boring lives. That also is a kind of suffering. So in Buddhism, suffering is a kind of learning. It's a learning process. Without suffering, we won't be where we are. All the great things you see around you is because something was missing in life. And then somebody thought about it, say, hey, how come, why can't we improve this? So the Buddha saw the four sides. We all know that. Whenever I see a book like this, I feel very happy because it reminds me, I've been a Buddhist 50 years? I started being a Buddhist around 10, so I'm 65 this year. And my mother was very instrumental in, making sure I remain a Buddhist. So those days, you won't get a book like this. Even if you get a small little book, we're very happy. Suttas, you can forget about it. Nobody heard of them. But now, one generation later, you find there's so many books and suttas available. In fact, there's so many experts. And sometimes you find that as if they're competing each other, You're saying that my version is better than other people and so on. So we are spoiled for choice now. So how do we treat suttas then? What's the purpose of a sutta? At least my understanding in this series, Sutta Discovery, the suttas, main things about mental peace and meditation, the mind. Sooner or later, the suttas lead on to teaching about the mind. If this sutta doesn't teach that sort of goal, I think it's not worth it. It probably is not a real sutta. Someone must have written it, after the Buddha's time. There are lots of such sutta. This Buddhism is very tolerant, so a lot of people can just sometimes write something and claim, oh, this is a sutta. So we have to be, in a sense, wise in choosing what we read. Learn the basics, in other words. And the basics are always there, available. Very good translations today, right? And then read the translation, look at the notes. That's the first level. It's called first level of learning. The level of what's called listening. Sutta, Maya, Panya. Wisdom arising from listening. That's what we are doing now. Then you think about it. You reflect on this teaching. In other words, in a sense, you apply it to your daily life. You see something happening, you see disappointment, pain, or even happiness. Something wonderful happened. Then you reflect on the sutta. What does the sutta tell me? Right? A lot of people misunderstand suttas. They think, oh, sutta talks about nothing but suffering. And they don't know what's the meaning of suffering. Well, the suttas tell us, in a simple word, is impermanence. So whatever you look at life, if you understand the nature of impermanence, the quality of your life goes up. Because if whatever you want can happen, whatever good things you want to have, you will have, you will never be happy. They say that if diamond is like sand, then diamond is no more value. Right? The rarity of diamonds is because it is rare. I mean, the value is because it is rare. See? The Dharma is rare. The Buddha is rare. Only one Buddha in one period, or sometimes even in one world cycle. Our world cycle is called the fortunate world cycle. There are 4 Buddhas. Okay, 3 Buddhas have passed, and this is our 4th Buddha, and then one more coming. So we have 5 Buddhas. So we're very fortunate. Because in some cycles there are no Buddha. So imagine if there's no Buddha, no one comes to the world and say, be at peace with yourself, teach meditation. It's going to be a very violent kind of society. There are such violent societies in the world, We know all these places, right? And in many ways, Singapore, we're very lucky. You can just walk out the street, you're safe. You don't, there'll be no bullet flying by or bomb exploding. We take all this for granted. Not everywhere in the world is like this. Right? So the rising of the Buddha is very rare. The teaching of the Dharma also very rare. Of course, you might say, hey, there's so many Dharma talks going on. Like today, Sunday, you go to hundreds of temples in Singapore. Everybody's saying they're talking Buddhism, So you got to listen. How does this affect? We can listen to a lot of talk, can study lots of books and Buddhism, but you can do that for 10, 20 years, your whole life, Then suddenly you find no change, You still get angry, you still get upset, you still get depressed, you still do not know how to solve problems, you do not even know how to talk to people. Of course, then something's wrong. That's not Dharma. Dharma is a way of changing us. Dharma is a way of telling us sometimes never mind, sometimes to mind. To mind means to reflect, pay attention. So Dharma raises our awareness and therefore also enriches our life because we begin to see joy in the simple things in life. So in that sense, the Dharma fulfills our life. And this is what the sutta is about today. Patta Kamma Sutta. Patta means what you attain, what you gain. Kamma, of course, deliberate action. Sutta means thread, teaching coming from the Buddha. So this teaching is very interesting in the sense that it talks about spiritual attainment first, and then worldly practice. If you look at the Dīgha Sutta, Sigāl'ovāda Sutta, the Buddha talks about worldly practice as happiness now, and then happiness in the future, right? But here it's the other way around, and we find out why. Okay. Another interesting point is, this is a sutta especially taught to Anyone read this ahead? Who is the main character here? It's Anathapindika. Anathapindika, as you know, is the Buddha's main lay supporter. He was the one who bought Jeta's grove for the Buddha. And then he built a monastery park for the Buddha. And this is where the sutta started. And the introduction is not given here, but it is in Jeta's forest, Anathapindika's park in Jeta's forest. So Anathapindika's park is a part of Jeta's forest. This prince has got this big forest. And the Pali word there is vihara. Okay? Anathapindikassa arame. Okay? Arame, rather. Arame. Arama. Arama is what we would translate as a park. You know, you have East Coast Park here, no? So you translate to Pali be something like Pubarama, you know. I got what course you got to translate also. So when we say Arama, today it also means monastery. You have, for example, Sri Lanka Rama, and then the Sinhalese, they like to put ya at the end. Sri Lanka Rama, ya, okay? The ya is a Sinhalese habit, making the Sinhalese, okay? Whereas the Hindi, the Indians, they like to cut off the last vowel. For example, Buddha becomes Bud. You know, they drop off the last A, it's called apocope, cut off the last A. So this is a modernization of these ancient languages. Okay? So Arama, in Thai become Aram. You know? So again, you got this modern Pali becoming Thai. What is an Arama? Now one thing you won't see in an Arama is buildings. Not even buildings like this. They're all forest huts, leaf huts. Beautiful place, very clean, lots of trees, and yet spacious. The trees are not that close together, but shady enough.
Yeah.
So, yes? So, this, the Arama, in other words, is sometimes translated as a monastery park. Monastery park. Yeah? So, it's a park as well as monastery. The best thing you can imagine is botanic gardens. The trees, a lot of trees, right? And there are little huts. Okay? It's not like Northeast Thailand. Northeast Thailand is equatorial, you know, so the trees can be quite dense. Malaysian jungle very dense, whereas the forest of Buddha's area is a bit more like Robin Hood kind of forest, if you can imagine that. You know? So it's more spacious. So imagine that kind of like open air, very fresh, very healthy, very peaceful. Right? So that's Arama. So the Buddha is sitting there giving his teachings every day, you know? No holiday. In fact, for the Buddha and the early Buddhists, when you say holy day, that's the original meaning, the origin of the word holiday, holy day. Holy day means that's the day the lay people, the laymen, lay women, they will come to the monastery to listen to the Buddha's teaching. Full moon, new moon days. Every once a week, or at least once in 2 weeks, full moon, new moon at least. You got full moon, and then first quarter, new moon, last quarter, fall. Yeah? That's how you get the weeks. So someone asked me a very interesting question recently. You know? The Buddha, this person actually is reading Mahayana Sutta. So he asked me, he said, you know, in the Mahayana Suttas, it is said that wherever the Buddha will, big crowds go with him. I thought he's going to tell me as many as the sand on the Ganges River. You know? But he said, no, it's 1,250 people. He says, you know, the Buddha teaches, he talks to 1,250 people. You know? Now here, a small group, I'm using a microphone. Imagine 1,250 people is huge. You know, how did the Buddha, how was the Buddha heard? How could these people hear him? You know, it's a very interesting question. The answer, not too difficult actually. Number one, the noise level is definitely much lower those days. No phones, no planes, no trains, no machines, right? No distractions. And somehow in the forest, you can talk the voice carry more, go a greater distance. Another thing is, if you have Indian friends, especially Northern Indian friends, you will notice that they have very loud voices and they talk fast. They can talk very fast, right? So the Buddha, I don't think the Buddha talked fast, but Ananda could recite very fast. But the Buddha would talk gentle and slow, but very clear. Of course, if the Buddha wants to talk fast, he can. So these are some things you've got to imagine. How the Buddha talked to so many. I think usually the crowd would not be in the thousands, probably maybe a few hundred at the most. But remember, there are also lay people around. So those who really want to benefit, listen well, they will sit in front. Sit very close. So you can imagine the 5 monks, they probably were sitting like this, like a scout camp. 5 months there, Buddha teaching them. In fact, these are some of these are basic rules. For example, under the word ekamantang, ekamantang is at one side. The commentaries, the Vinaya explain what's the meaning. Ekamantang, for example, means not too near, not too far. Because too far you can't hear the teaching. Too near, you might smell. And then you must not sit upwind. That means the wind is blowing here, you don't sit here, then your smell will come to the teacher, I think. So you must sit downwind and sit aside. And then you don't sit in front, you sit aside. The whole idea is to make sure the teacher is comfortable, he can give his teaching without being distracted, and you also can pay full attention. So the idea of sitting up close to the teacher is very symbolic. In fact, it's so symbolic to the ancient Indians, they have a special word for it. They call it Upanishads. The Upanishads are very ancient forest teachings given by these sages who live in the forest. In Buddhism, the word is to sit near the teacher, one of the 12 stages of learning. In Buddhism, you don't have the original 12 steps program, by the way. Is to sit near the teacher. When you sit near the teacher, then you are more able to respond to the teacher, and then listen well and so on. So this kind of very lively interaction is very important in the early Buddhist teachings. So here, Anathapindika and his followers, I think 500 of them were there sitting listening to Buddha. So that's how it begins. Then the house lord, Anathapindika, approached the Blessed One, saluted him, and then sat down at one side. And as the house lord Anathapindika was sitting at one side, the Blessed One said this to him. Okay. So, you see, Anathapindika is one of those people who don't like to ask questions. It's not that he is a dull person or he's not interested in Dharma, not at all. He feels that he should not ask any questions because the Buddha will be obliged to answer him. And he might distract other people who have questions. You know why? Because he's the main supporter. So as the main supporter, obviously the Buddha will be obliged to answer his questions. So he never asks any question. Very rare occasion. Very rare. The suttas record, 1 or 2 suttas record, he actually asked the Buddha questions. So normally when you read the sutta where Anathapindika is present, Anathapindika doesn't ask any question. So the commentaries say that the Buddha would scan his mind. What is he thinking that day? And then would teach him something that is of interest to him. So notice, you look at this sutta, it doesn't say, and then Anathapindika asks the Buddha question, nothing, not mentioned. Straight away the Buddha speaks to him. Section 2 on page 188. Okay, here I've given you the subheading, 4 things hard to get in the world. This one you won't get in the normal translation. I put this in so that it's easy for you, for the modern reader, to have an idea what you're reading. 4 things hard to get in the world. There are 4 things, householder, a house lord. House lord means someone who has property, who has a house, his own house. I'm on page 188, right at the top. There are 4 things, house lord, that are wished for, desirable, agreeable, but hard to get in the world. What are the 4? 4 things we like very much, but very hard to get in the world. One wishes May wealth arise to me in a righteous manner. May I be rich in a proper way. May I be rich in a proper way. This is the wish we want to have. We don't want to cheat people. We don't want to gain wealth through suffering of others. May we be rich in a proper way, in a Dharma way. This is the first thing we all wish for, but very difficult to get. Second wish, may fame righteously come to me, as well as to my relatives and to my preceptors. Right? Of course, a politician definitely will think like this, A couple of days ago, our local MP went on her rounds to visit houses, and she came into our house. If you come to our house, there's only one thing to talk about with the suttas. So she asked me, what do you do? I said, well, I teach suttas, I teach meditation. She said, what is that? I said, well, we stand before the Tripitaka, because the Tripitaka is right in our living room. And she asked a very intelligent question. She asked, why do you need to translate the suttas? She didn't say there are already so many translations, Then I explained to her. And she said, are you selling this thing? I said, no, it's all freely available online. And she said, oh yeah, I will check it out. So she was very happy about this thing. I don't think all the houses visited anybody talk about suttas or translations. And then she said, we need your help, okay? Do you think you can help us with counseling, parliamentary counseling? I said, oh yeah, of course. She said, my wife is bilingual and she's doing counseling. So you can see sometimes Buddhism can be of use on a social level also. Maybe not sometimes, anytime we need it, it's possible. Right? So a politician may say, may I be famous righteously? May I be famous in a proper way? Here, of course, for people like us, what we are saying is, may my name not be besmirched. May I have a good name? May people respect me, basically. Right? We all want that. But it's difficult. Sometimes you do all the right things, people still don't respect you. Right? And you wonder why. So is it bad karma? Very convenient, everything we blame karma, right? But sometimes it's conditions, it's just conditions. Okay? So this is where Buddhism is telling us, look at the conditions, understand it, learn from it. Okay? So this is the second wish, very difficult to get. May I be famous in a proper way. May I be respected in a proper way. Number 3, when one has gotten wealth in just manner and fame and righteously to one's relatives and preceptor, then one wishes, may I live long, may I have longevity, right? So let's say you manage to get wealth, you're wealthy, and then you're also respected. Now you say, may I live long? Of course, when you ask them, they always tell you, oh, I'm not afraid to die, but inside actually they're really afraid to die. I've not met anyone who is not afraid to die. That includes me. When you think about it, you don't not think about it. So what do? I run courses on it. Then tell other people, don't be afraid. When people don't afraid, I'm also not afraid. Okay? But we all are afraid of death. Who is not? Either we talk about it or we don't. That's what the Dhammapada says. On the other hand, you don't allow this fear to cripple you. Fear is a good thing, Let's say if there's a hot oven here, I touch and then I get burned. The fear of being burned again prevents me from being hurt. So the fear of death, you can turn it into a meditation, right? Meaning, okay, we have so much time. In Singapore, average lifespan of a man is 82 years, women 85 years, more or less. This is level playing field, they say. In other words, we don't know what can happen. So I plan my sutta translation up to the year. Now, my age catching up, I've forgotten the year. What year is that? 2030. Wow, that's okay. So, up to the year 2030, I'll be about 90, 85, 90. The number of volumes of this sutta discovery will be about 100. This is volume 37. The latest volume is 43. I'm working on volume 44. So imagine, I told myself, wow, I'm nearly halfway through the mark, But there's something that's even more frightening. You see, I put all the years in my computer, and every year I can only do 4 volumes of this. 3 months once, 3 months once. So what I do is I will index each volume with a theme, and then I'll put the suttas there. That's how I get motivated to translate. Now I got only hardly 10 years which are vacant. In other words, those 10 years are no themes yet. I said, wow, so few years left. So you begin to reflect. This is called reflection on death. It's one very interesting way, reflection on death. It's not so much a fear here, it's more like urgency, we say. So you know where you're heading, and you don't want to be distracted, in other words. At the same time, I also tell myself, all right, but I can't be sure that I will be finishing everything. The important thing is, as long as I document whatever I'm doing, the next generation, some intelligent people who know Pali, who know the Dharma, who meditate, will know what to do. They will know how to carry on. And that's the important thing. Because for me, I'm not doing this translation to completely translate whole Tipitaka. Maybe it's possible, maybe not, I don't know. But even what I'm doing now, maybe hardly, is Grace who asked me, how much of the translation have you finished? I said, perhaps, generously you can say 30% on it. And that's a lot, 30% of this whole Tipitaka. What keeps me going? There's only one answer, very simple answer: joy. Dharma, joy. Because when, sometimes I feel so bored, I say, I think you can translate today. And I tell myself, there's nothing else to do. You watch TV, same old thing, crying and fighting and killing. You read newspaper, nothing but bad news. So might as well just try something. Look at the computer, look at the sutta, just one line. One line leads to another, It becomes very interesting. Okay? So you need joy in order to do whatever you want to do. When you come here also, if you look at yourself, there must be some kind of joy. There could be other reasons, but the real reason must be joy. When you come here, when you do something, when you go to work, if you have joy in you, you're doing the right thing. Joy is the real food that we need beyond what other food we are taking. Joy is the food of the devas. How do we cultivate joy? Through mindfulness and meditation. When you meditate, you feel peaceful, you feel joyful. That joy protects you. Like a lotus in your heart. We do this loving kindness practice. We visualize the lotus, it's always there, very bright, radiant, with loving kindness. Whenever you need it, the loving kindness is there in your heart. You just invoke it, you just look at it with your mind. You look at the bright light with your eyes closed in this case. Loving kindness gives you joy. Any meditation teacher tells you no need to do loving kindness, or worse, they say loving kindness is bad, you better avoid that kind of meditation. You're going to have psychological problems. I'm not saying any bad things here, because research has been done for meditation. Some people simply meditate without proper instruction, they get into trouble. You just meditate, you want to get certain powers, or maybe heal themselves without knowing what to do. There are proper ways of doing meditation. Even the scientists, they know this now. Certain meditation will help you overcome certain things. Breath meditation helps you to be calm. Loving kindness helps you to clear away your negative emotions and relate to people. And there are other very beautiful, simple practices, like the 4 elements. You can choose one of the elements, earth, water, fire, wind, and then relate to it with reflecting them as impermanent, or reflecting on each of them with loving kindness. So all this can be done properly, and it is healing in other words. So we don't sit for long hours and force ourselves. There's nothing to gain in meditation except peace. So we build our peace that way. Alright? Alright, so I talk a lot about this part here. So may I live long? Yeah? In order to live long, we must reflect that life is short. Because what do you mean by a long life? A long life is a happy life. If you have a long life, you're suffering, what's the point? Right? There's hell on earth already. A long life means happy life. Next one, the last wish. So after we have become rich, we have become famous, we live long, what do we wish for now? The 4th wish. After death, with the bodies breaking up, may I be reborn in a heaven world. This is definitely a worldly way of thinking. It is as if the Buddha knows what will happen to Anathapindika. Because Anatta Pitaka is only a stream winner. So as a stream winner, when stream winners die, they will either be reborn in a happy, Dharma-centered family among the humans, or they'll be reborn in the higher realms, in the heavens. Okay? And after their karma finished in the heavens, they will be reborn on earth again. They will never go, it won't be a snake and ladder, no straight to hell. Other people who do good karma, but they do not practice Dharma that will bring them string winning at least, yeah, they will go to heaven. And this is why, at least in Buddhism, we're very generous. And we say, yeah, a lot of people, anywhere, any religion, you do good, you're kind, you go to heaven. But once the karma finishes, once the heaven karma finishes, this side you play snake and ladder, you know, everyone has done that, right? You get into the snake's mouth, zap, you go down. Go back straight to hell. Like, what game is that? Monopoly. Straight, go to jail, straight, right? This is the sutta saying this, you know. Even the gods go to hell. Have you heard of this in any other religion? Heaven, the door is just back door, right? Because the karma has come. That is why marriage alone is not enough. You must have wisdom also. That is why we should aspire to be streamliness in this life. It's nothing difficult. It's just constantly reflecting on impermanence and make the simple aspiration. May I gain stream winning in this life? And just go on practicing your loving kindness, standing, walking, sitting, lying down, everything is impermanent. When you're happy, impermanent. When you're sad, also impermanent. When you have problems, it's impermanent. When you get lottery first prize, impermanent. Then you're happy no matter what. And this is habitual karma. And then when it comes to the last moment, this habitual karma will push you through the last few moments of your life. You can't control that part. But because you've done this reflection regularly, you'll be streaming. This is what the Sutta chapter 25 tells us in 10 suttas. You can choose any one of the 10 suttas and practice as 25. Yeah? So, this is how Buddhists go to heaven. We go to heaven to enjoy the peace there, and then after that, we born happily again. So these are the 4 wishes. No? So the Buddha says, yeah, these 4 things we all wish for, but very hard to get. And then the Buddha goes on to the next part. He says, but there are 4 things that will allow us to get these 4 other things mentioned. Section 3 now. Now, House Lord, there are these 4 things that allow us to get the 4 things that are wished for. Desirable, agreeable, but hard to get in the world. What are the 4? The accomplishment of faith, saddha, sila. Notice it doesn't just say faith, it says accomplishment of faith. That means really solid faith. We'll talk about faith. We'll talk about these terms in a while. The accomplishment of moral virtue, sila sampadā. The accomplishment of charity, caga sampadā. The accomplishment of wisdom, paññā sampadā. See, 4 basic positive qualities: faith, moral virtue, charity, wisdom. This is for personal growth, personal cultivation. First thing to cultivate, faith. Okay, now the Buddha will explain each of them one by one. Section 4, brackets 1. And what, House Lord, is the accomplishment of faith? Here, House Lord, a noble disciple has wise faith. He has faith in the Buddha's awakening. Mark this, the Buddha's awakening. He didn't just say the Buddha, he says the Buddha's awakening. Thus. So in other words, not in the teacher, but in what makes the teacher. We normally go for refuge, right? We just did that a while ago. And we talk of 3 refuges. But the reality is there's only 1 refuge. If we talk about 1 refuge, what is the refuge? Anyone think yes? The Dharma. The Dharma. You know why? There's one very interesting sutta, Sigāl'ovāda Sutta, which talks about the Buddha after his awakening. The Buddha sitting very happy under the Bodhi tree reflecting. The Buddha just awakened. And one of his thoughts is this. He says, for this Dharma I've realized is so wonderful. And yet, I feel that I must show my respect to a teacher. I must show my respect to a teacher. Who shall I bow to as teacher? So it's a bit the world, you just wanted who? No one. There's no other Buddha around. There's no one better than the Buddha around. So it says, no, there can't be. There must be someone I can bow down to. If not, maybe some principle. Then it says, okay, it's the Dharma that made me Buddha. So I shall show my respect to the Dharma. Gārava means respect. So even the Buddha respects the Dharma. In other words, the Dharma is even above the Buddha. It is the Dharma that makes the Buddha. Now this is a very, very wonderful teaching. It means we must always put the teaching above the teacher, teaching before the teacher, right? It doesn't matter who comes in to teach you the suttas. If the suttas are clear and wonderful, and you benefit, it's a sutta. So this one refuge is the Dharma. Right? So here it is, we say the Buddha's awakening refers to the Dharma. And how does the Dharma make the Buddha, so to speak, define the Buddha? And this is the famous reflection, Itipiso Bhagava Arahang, right? This is in English. So too is he the Blessed One, for he is an Arhat. Arhat means worthy saint, the fully self-awakened one, accomplished in wisdom and conduct, well-farer, knower of worlds, peerless, guide of tameable people, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. This house lot is the accomplishment of faith. Okay, what does this mean? See, this is the thing, why we go for sutta study. This phrase is very beautiful. It's like a computer code. You see computer program when you open the computer program, you find it all in codes. So in a sense, the sutta is a bit like codes. This is one of my favorite comparisons. The computer program is the sutta, like computer programs. In other words, you cannot minus anything. You cannot add also. Because if you minus or add, the computer program won't work. That's why the repetitions are very important. This is one of the criticisms about Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, otherwise an excellent translation. He has to shorten many of the repetitions given by the Buddha. So one very careful scholar is a practitioner scholar in UK. He wrote his, literary criticism. He said this book is very good, but we should not crunch all these repetitions, because the original intention of the Buddha and the monk reciters, they purposely put the recitation for good reason. Because the recitation are meant to be heard. You listen, you reflect. For example, the 10 kind of karma, the 7 awakening factors, you hear one by one, and then you begin to reflect on them, you feel very peaceful. Like the principle of chanting. Because chanting is a bit fast for lay people. But if you really want to meditate, you get someone to read with a very calm, soothing voice, almost like a Buddha voice. You listen, and then finish the reading, you feel very peaceful, you're ready to meditate. Sometimes, some people call it Sutta Puja. And I know there are some monks who specialize in this, They read passages, you listen, it helps you to meditate. If you find you have difficulty meditating sitting just like that, the traditional way, do this kind of sutta meditation. Listen to the sutta, especially a passage that you like. Okay, sutta passage. And then from there, you go on to your meditation. So this passage is like that. Now I'll interpret it to you so that you have that wisdom aspect in you. Wisdom aspect means what? You focus your mind, push away the distractions, as much wrong ideas as possible. So you have a good idea, who is the Buddha? And then you can reflect on this. Okay? Right, so look at this. There are 9 virtues of the Buddha. The first one is, he is an Arhat. Arhat means worthy. Worthy one, worthy because another meaning is he has broken the wheels, the spokes of the wheel of suffering. He has pushed away the enemy called defilement. In simple terms, an Arhat is one who has purified himself by removing all mental defilements. No more mental defilements. That's the Buddha. It's possible, the Buddha has done it. Number 2, fully self-awakened one. Samma Sambuddha. Samma Sambuddha. Samma has 2 meanings. Properly done, fully done. Sambuddha. Sam here means self. Buddha awakened. He has awakened himself. Okay? It's just like we wake up in the morning, so nice and fresh. The Buddha is the one who is the first awakened in our generation, in our memorable history, as far as we can remember. He has awakened from what? From ignorance. And now he's awakening us. He's telling us, wake up from your dreams. Wake up from all your imaginative wrong ideas. Wake up from selfishness. Wake up from hatred. Wake up from delusion. In other words, there's nothing wrong with us really. We're just asleep, dreaming, ignorant. Wake up. Samma Sambuddha, self-awakened. Accomplished in wisdom and conduct. Vijja charana sampanno. Vijja is wisdom, charana is conduct. The Buddha used to say in the suttas, whatever I say, I do. Whatever I do, I say. I can remember quite clearly in my head, when I was in school, sometimes our teacher, would do some maths problem, we do it very fast, And then student asks, teacher, how do you do that? He says, okay, just listen to me. You may not be able to do what I do, but you do what you can. You don't have to follow me. But the Buddha is not like that. The Buddha says, whatever I say, that also I will do. And if I say something, I also will follow that. So it's a man of his word, in other words. It's not easy for us, because sometimes we don't know what to say, right? So whatever the Buddha says, the Dharma, and whatever he practices, also the Dharma. So what he says, what he does are the same thing. Okay? So wisdom is what he knows, conduct is his behavior. Sometimes we see people, they appear very religious, right? But then when we go to them, we're very disappointed. They're not really kind to us. Or maybe there is a speaker, he talks about compassion and great things in a big talk, But you approach him personally, I need help. He can't help. Right? So in other words, it's not a man of his word. Okay? So it's not easy. Whereas the Buddha, he could, He gives talks on compassion. When people go to him for help, he helps them. And not only that, he goes to Angulimala, to Kisa Gotami. Patachara comes to him, he helps them. That's the Buddha, he could do it because of the Dharma. So his wisdom and his conduct reflect each other. Welfare, what's the Pali word here?
Sugata.
Yeah, Sugato. Sugata. Su means good, well, gata means gone. Well gone one. Or you can also separate this way as Su Agata, welcome one. Well gone, welcome. Well gone, the meaning is he has accomplished everything, he's happy. Welcome means his presence in our world, within living memory, brings us joy. Sugata. He brings happiness. He brings wherever he goes. Knower of worlds. This one is a controversial one. In most commentaries, we are told, the Buddha knows all the 3 worlds, the sense world, form world, formless world. But it's not very helpful to us. It's such a, huge, big knowledge. A better explanation is this. Worlds here means our senses. The all. The Sabba Sutta. In the Sabba Sutta, the Buddha says, what is the all? What is everything? What is the world? The world is our 6 senses. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. This is our world. My world, your world. This is the real world. The world of sights and sound. The world of lights and colors, the eye. The world of sound, vibrations, the ear. Smell, taste, touch and thoughts. This is our world. The Buddha says if you try to add any more beyond this six, you can't. You're going to be troubled by it. This is the world. This, the Buddha knows. No one else before him taught this way. Truly he knows the world. And this knowledge is really beneficial for us. We begin to understand this is our world. We create our own world. We are responsible for our own world. We can change our own world. Loka vidu. Loka vidu. Knower of worlds. Fearless guide of tameable people. Fearless means beyond compare. In other words, he knows just what to teach you. Very good teacher. He looks at you, he knows what to teach. Tameable people. That means there are some people who somehow are not ready, even for the Buddha. But it doesn't mean there's no hope. There is hope. Even the worst person in Theravada Buddhism, the worst person, Devadatta, who tried to kill the Buddha, even he, because of his good karma, he could associate himself with the Buddha. And then it is said that in the long distant future, he'll become a Pajika Buddha himself, a kind of individual Buddha. So here, sometimes the Buddha teaches to people who won't change. There are half a dozen suttas, like the Udumparika Sihanada Sutta. The Buddha went to this very arrogant wanderer who tries to make fun of the Buddha. And he asks him a few questions, the wanderer couldn't answer. Then the Buddha tells there's a big gathering of these wanderers. He says, I'm not here to convert you. Whatever you believe that is good, continue believing in it. Whoever is your teacher, let the person be your teacher. But there are some things we must really understand. What's good, what's bad, that we must know. So if you are willing to learn this, you can come to me. But despite very clear teaching, long sutta, Mara was there. Okay? Their minds are clouded up. They did not respond, not a single one. So yes, I will join you. After all, in 7 days I can get some attainment. Nobody. And there are other occasions the Buddha taught where some people just no response, no change. This is very important to us. Imagine if all the suttas show, wow, the Buddha every time succeeding, you'd be suspicious, where did all the stories come from? Even the Buddha, in a sense, failed. Because when we teach the Dharma, we also sometimes may not be able to carry over the message. People might disagree with us. People may say, oh, I know, bigger, important teaching, better than yours. So you feel disappointed, want to give up. If you give up, then you become part of the problem. You just cannot give up, right? My job is one of the happiest, it's also one of the worst. Happiest in the sense that you are with source of happiness itself. But sad because you meet some of the worst people, who will tell you, oh, I know this already, I don't want to listen to any more sutta, I already studied this sutta. Oh, you just study one sutta, you imagine you know it forever. Yeah? I've been reading suttas again and again, every few years, I see something new in it. And sometimes a free book like this, you give to people, they say, oh no, I don't want this, as if you're giving them a disease or something. It's a free book, they just don't want to read. In next week's reflection, writing specially about this, the title is Google Making Us Stupid? Because of our over-reliance on the computer, apparently some scholars have found that our attention span has become shorter. We want to read fast and short things. We never go into depth, like one generation ago. And this is beginning to cost our intelligence and creativity. So this is where we got to be careful what happens to the mind. What are people, what is these computers and things doing to our mind? We should master the computers, not the other way around. That's the meaning. So the mind must be freed. How do we do this? This is what Buddhism tries to tell us. So tameable people, those who are ready, willing to learn, even the worst kind of person, Angulimala, serial killer, the Buddha could help this person. Why? Because even in the worst case scenario, Angulimala, he has some goodness in him. He tells the Buddha something like, as if he's saying, I've been thinking about you all this while, but somehow I couldn't come to you. But now that you're here, I'm so happy. I can throw away all my 1,000 bad things. And it became a stream winner. Just like that. And there are even drunkards who became stream winners. You know, this Sariputta is an amazingly tolerant, kind teacher. You know, we often think of Sariputta as foremost in wisdom, right? We forget he's also foremost in compassion. If ever there is an arahat who is foremost in compassion, I can't think of traditionally, I don't think of that category. I would say it's Sariputta also. There are many stories. I can spend a whole session on it. So I'll just take a few highlights. Yeah? For example, when he taught this, the Brahmin is dying, and he knew this Brahmin is a kind of very traditional Brahmin. It's not actually a Buddhist. So I told the Brahmin, you do loving kindness, okay? So you do loving kindness, you'll be reborn in the Brahma world, because it's a Brahmin. Then the Buddha told him, Buddha said, why did you do that? Why you teach him something deeper? You could be, become a streamer now. Then the Sariputta said, what is a Brahmin? So he taught him Brahma Vihara. So he's fantastic, compassionate. So he'll visit other people, his old friends. I mean, not many monks will do that. He comes to a certain town and he asks, how is this layman? And then someone said, oh, his old wife died, his new wife, terrible, his new wife has changed him, now he doesn't practice. So Sariputta said, oh, okay, I better go and see him. So Sariputta goes and talks to him. So arahats are also engaging in a sense. So we must not condemn arahats, it's very bad karma. They are very compassionate people. Read their stories. Yeah? So Sariputta is like that. And he's very caring to novices. And when the monks go out, he doesn't walk in front. Oh, I'm the second wisest monk after the Buddha walks in front. No. He is the last one. In fact, the congregation is left, is still in the monastery, make sure everything is clean, spick and span, and then only he will follow the crowd, the congregation at the back. And then he will go around when the monks are settled, checking whether the monks are sick or not, giving them medicine and so on. And if a novice is meditating, he will make every effort to make sure this novice is having all the right conditions for meditation. So these are stories we forget about Sariputta. It's also great in his compassion. So, in other words, we're talking about, in the case of Sariputta, he knows different kinds of minds and he helps them. But the Buddha, of course, is the way he is able to read people's mind even more refined. He's able to help people better with their meditation. All right, teachers of gods and humans. Other religions tell you their religion only man-centered. They don't really bother about other life. But Buddhism, amazingly, not only includes devas in the teachings, but also animals. Animals also can get some kind of upliftment from suffering. Animals cannot be enlightened as animals, but they can be reborn in higher states, and then from there evolve into humans, and then listen to Dharma, practice, become awakened. So he teaches a wide range. He teaches all living beings. Awaken, vaḍḍha, means awaken from ignorance, and we too need to awaken, and then blessed Bhagava. Blessed, here Bhagava also means someone who shares his blessing. Someone who shares the blessing, doesn't keep it to himself. So these are the 9 reflections. So when you reflect in this way, you feel faith. You feel, wow, this is a wonderful teacher. I want to be like him. So the Buddha is an ideal. Okay? Ideal means what? You may not be able to reach that level, it's okay. But like a star, you can reach the star, but the star guides you. Those ancient sailors, they guide their ship by the stars. So we use the Buddha as our guide. Talking about becoming Buddha, one of my old pupils, long ago, he wrote to me recently, I'm going for this INET conference, this International Network of Engaged Buddhists in KL next month. So he's organizing this now. I feel very proud for him actually, because those days we only organize national level courses. We come to Singapore, we organize courses for Singapore. Now he's gone ahead of me, he's organized an international engaged Buddhist conference. Then he wrote to me, he knows, he says, I know you're talking about becoming streamer and so on. He says, but I think I would take the Bodhisattva path. It's understandable because it's working with all these underprivileged people, political problems here and there. So this international network of engaged Buddhists is a global thing. So I was smiling, I was telling myself, he doesn't know that this Bodhisattva path is a very tough path. That is why I didn't choose it. And so I told myself, whether I should write about it, discourage him, So I'm wondering how to write something that will kind of inspire him rather than discourage him. You see, you know why I chose the streaming way? It is easy, safe. Even as a layman, you can be whatever job you're having, as long as it's keeping to the 5 precepts, not against the 5 precepts. You can practice and gain awakening as in this life. But if you say you want to be a Bodhisattva, means you want to become a Buddha in the future. That's the meaning. I mean, it's possible, but I tell you, it's tough. Someone told me, someone put me in a very dramatic way. He said, wow, become a Buddha. That means you're going to allow others to cut you up, eat you, donate your eyes, your arms, your legs, You donate parts of your body, you get crushed, you get rolled over, all kinds of terrible suffering you're willing to go through all the realms. The Buddha is a PhD in suffering. Are you willing to go through all that? You got to give away all that you love, your family, your wife, your children, your wealth. Yes?
Could it be he's trying to tell him he's walking the Bodhisattva's path?
Yes.
Rather than becoming a Bodhisattva.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I said. I wonder if he realizes that, you see? Okay. On the other hand, if you are a stream winner, you can still do social work. You can still say, yeah, I want to follow the Bodhisattva spirit. I aim for stream winning, but I follow the Bodhisattva spirit. It's possible too. Yeah, what I'm saying is you got to know what you're aiming for. So you don't
I don't think you should discourage him.
No, definitely I won't discourage him, but I definitely don't want him to be deluded. So as I'm still thinking, how can I inspire him? Okay, so those are the reflections. Then next one, we're coming halfway, we just go a bit faster now. Huh? Next one, what is the cultivation of moral virtue? Here very easy. Here you have the 5 precepts. Here, house law, the noble disciple refrains from harming life, refrains from taking the not given, refrains from sexual misconduct, refrains from false speech, refrains from strong drinks, distilled drinks, fermented drinks, and that which causes heedlessness. The 5 precepts. So this is where people ask you, where did the Buddha talk about 5 precepts? There you are. This is one of the suttas. Yeah? There are other suttas Buddha talk about the 10 precepts. This is 5. Now you all know this very well, so I just give some quick remarks. The first one is not to kill because life is most precious. So it begins with the first precept. And then we all want to be happy, right? So we want to have property, food, clothing, shelter, medicine, right? So we work hard for those things. So if someone takes that away, then our life will not be so meaningful. So that's why stealing is wrong. This is a value of happiness. Number 3 is the value of freedom. Freedom means the right to say no. So sexual misconduct is, in other words, conducting ourselves wrongly in matters of sexuality, like rape, violence to others and so on. When the person says no, got to respect. So this is to be able to say no and to be respected for it is called freedom. Okay? Value of freedom. Then, of course, next one is value of truth. All this must be true, right? So that's the 4th. These are all universal values. The last one is very interesting. Number 5 deals with the mind. We don't want the mind to be clouded up so that we can go to the next stage. The purpose of the precepts discipline our body and speech is to prepare ourselves for training the mind. Okay? So you have not taking strong drinks. Notice this is the full translation. Number 1, strong drinks. This is the weakest of the strong drinks. And the second one is where you distill a bit more. It's called distilled drinks. The first one is sura, second one is meraya, and then matcha, fermented drinks. I think it's the other way around. Fermented drinks is the weak one, distilled drink is stronger, strong drink is very strong. So these are three grades of drink, known in the Buddha's time and also known today. And not to take any of this. All right, then charity. What is the accomplishment of charity? Here, householder, a noble disciple dwells at home with a heart free from the stains of stinginess, devoted to others, open-handed, delighting in giving, devoted to almsgiving, delighting to have a share in giving. There are at least two important points here. Number one, charity begins at home. This is the verse. Learn to be generous to your own family first. This is one of the difficult things in my family. We try to be as generous as we can to our children. In other words, we try to provide them whatever they need within reasonable limits. At the same time, we also have to teach them the value of work, that you can't get what you want for nothing. Right? So, little things. But charity is very important. Charity also is an act of love. Charity is also a way we make our environment safe and happy. When other people are happy, we are also happy. People will remember us. Of course, I'm not a house lord, I'm not a rich man. By Singapore standards, we are a very poor family. But we are very rich in the Dharma. We regularly teach the Dharma. Every day there's something, some email we answer in the Dharma. And whenever we go out, there's always someone there who will come up to us and tell us, thank you for this, thank you for that. So we feel that we are given something. Or it is the gift of the Dharma. So you have two kinds of gift. Charity in a sense of support for others, and give the Dharma spiritual support for others. You can do either one or both. The last one is very interesting, the last phrase. Delighting to have a share in giving. So when we do some good merit-making project, it's good to do as a group. When you do this, you also make friends, fellowship. It makes fun to be a Buddhist. And next life you have good friends also. So of course you can do it alone, but doing in a group, encouraging others to join, also, helps you to save money. I mean, you need to invest less. At the same time, you teach more people to do good. And it's very easy to support monks. How much can a monk eat? Right? I mean, if one monk comes, or even 10 monks come, and you bring 50 people, each of us just put one scoop food in the bowl. I mean, the monk can eat much. For me, I take an average of 20 scoops of food at the hawker center. I think let's just be generous and tell the monk take 40 scoops and say, possible. If there are 40 people, 40 devotees, one devotee, one scoop, the monk doesn't eat much. So you can see how easy it is to support the monk with charity. Now you come to something very dear. All these things we do, faith, moral virtue, charity, then wisdom. Wisdom here is defined as overcoming the 5 mental hindrances. I don't want this looks like a big chunk, an island of words. Just look at the italicized word. Look at number 1, house lord, when he dwells with the mind, overcome by covetousness and rampant greed. This is the first thing we must overcome. Now look at the 5 mental hindrances first. This is not the normal 5 hindrances, This is called the 5 domestic hindrances. Number 2 is ill will. Number 3, sloth and torpor. Number 4, restlessness and remorse. Number 5, doubt. Very similar to the 5 hindrances for meditation, right? Now these are the 5 things that we will face and which prevents us from becoming intelligent and wise. These are 5 things we must learn to overcome, whether we meditate or not. Number 1, covetousness and rampant greed. What is covetousness? To covet means to whatever other people have, you also want. Fashion. We compare. Other people have a nice car, we want a bigger car. People have a nice house, we also want to upgrade. It's like a challenge. In fact, you'll never be happy. Some people, they just want to be happy they want to be rich for riches' sake, and they're not happy. Yeah? So you must know when to stop. The precepts telling us you must know when to stop, when to enjoy life, so to speak. Rampant greed means not knowing when to stop. So remember, the precept is not preventing you from enjoying life. The precept is telling you, remember when to stop. Okay? Now, number 2 is opposite, ill will. Ill will is anger, hatred. This is not very helpful, anger, hatred, right? And then next one, number 3, spoil and proper. You become sleepy, tired. You don't make effort, right? Next one, restlessness and remorse. This one is where we start thinking about the future, we start worrying about the past, so we will not at peace with our minds. And number 5 is doubt. Doubt is when we feel, oh, I don't think I can do this. Right? Because we've been hearing a lot of things people tell us, then we are not happy. Sometimes we hear wrong advice, right? Then we lose our confidence. That's why, remember, people who talk to you about Buddhism, right? You got to be polite with them. Because sometimes they will tell all kinds of things, and you find actually authority. Everybody is an expert, right? On the thing they are. So it's okay, listen and say, thank you for your advice, but think carefully. Because sometimes the things that you hear from unwise people sound very alarming and terrible, but you find in the end, it's not helpful to you. So not everyone is telling you something helpful. Then you won't have done that. So you have to abandon these 5 domestic hindrances. If you can do that, then you come to great wisdom. Look at them. Just about 8.3. 3 lines above 8.3, the bold prince. This noble disciple house lord is called the one with great wisdom, thick in wisdom, who sees what is within range. The next one should be accomplished in wisdom. What is interesting here is who sees what is within range. That means you see within your life what's going on. You know your limits, you know your strength, you know your weaknesses. And this is what giving up the 5 domestic hindrances mean. Yeah? So all these things, read again in your free time, you have a better idea. So these are the 4 things. Faith, moral virtue, charity, wisdom, that helps you to truly be happy in this life. And now we come to the last part, worldly accomplishment. There you are, see, this worldly accomplishment is towards the end. The Buddha is talking to Anathapindika, remember? So here the Buddha says, proper users of wealth. Now, house lord, this noble disciple with wealth, gotten by work and zeal, gathered by the strength of heart, earned by the sweat of the brow, justly obtained in a lawful way, undertakes 4 kinds of worthwhile work. What are the 4? So in other words, when you have wealth, what do you use it for, really to be happy? Number 1, 10 brackets 1. Here, house lord, the noble disciple with wealth gotten in this way, you work hard for it, and you rightfully can enjoy it, makes himself happy and zestful. So make sure you are healthy, happy, and keep up that rightful happiness. Number 2, he makes his parents happy and zestful. Not his parents, number 2, right? Next, he makes his children and women, that means wife, daughters, his servants, laborers, workers happy and zestful, keeps them rightfully happy. Notice, look at this particular line. This is a definition of family. Family means children, women in the house, servants, laborers, workers. In other words, whoever works for you, under your roof, works for you, they are regarded as extended family. This is the Buddhist concept of social family. Right? Whereas in the Sangha, it's a universal family. So although the monk has left home, nun has left home, he adopts a bigger family, universal family. Next, second benefit of wealth, third line. He makes himself secure against all misfortune whatsoever, such as may arise from fire, from water, from the king, from robbers, and from bad airs. Okay? So let's protect your wealth. So this is about insurance and so on. Protect your wealth. So here you find another statement about insurance. Next one, the third worthy case of wealth. You make the 5-fold offerings. So here's charity. Offerings to relatives. So you're generous to your relatives, to guests. And this is a very Asian quality. We try to be kind. try to be generous. We entertain our guests respectfully. Buddhists do that. Offering to the departed, we remember our ancestors. Even LKY mentioned in one of his interviews, he says that now privately he admits it, openly already, that he does respect his ancestors, right? So in other words, our roots. How do Buddhists respect our ancestors? By remembering them with loving kindness. Very important, loving kindness. Offering to the king, here meaning the government. In other words, pay your tax. Happily pay your tax in full. We always do that. We've got some very overkind friends who tell us, hey, you all don't get much donation. You don't have to declare everything you get. I said, because we don't get much, all the more we must declare exactly what we have. We won't be taxed anyway, we're so poor. So this way, don't try to cheat your taxing, you'll get caught, right? So here the Buddha is telling you, give whatever belongs to the government, give back. Number E is very interesting, offering to the devas. This is one of those things a bit confusing. Some people may say Buddhists worship devas. Now that's not the meaning. In the Buddha's time, there were some Buddhists to be. They're not exactly Buddhists here. Because there's no definition of religion in Buddha's time, So the Buddha said, well, if you still worship devas, fine. You just make your offering. Part of it you do for your traditional worship, in other words. Because in our families, not everyone is a Buddhist, right? So we just kind of respect the practices of the other traditions in a small way. This is not the whole thing, just it's a tiny bit of our savings. For example, General Siha, who's the leading follower of Mahavira, he converted to Buddhism. But the Buddha told him, you must continue giving alms to your old teacher who belongs to another religion. It's because you've been supporting him all this time. Continue giving. So the Buddha had no problem there. But of course, Siha was already a stream winner, so his faith is fully in the Buddha. So he still gives alms. The third servant gives alms, but he doesn't get involved. So you can see the generosity of Buddhism and the Buddha. And then number 4, furthermore, a house lord with wealth given by work. And so with the wealth that we have gotten through our work and our labor, the noble disciple makes offerings to all those recluses and Brahmins. So this is where we make offerings to monasteries, temples, monks, Dharma workers, and who refrain from intoxication and heedlessness, who bear all things with patience and restraint, each taming himself, each calming himself, each cooling himself, cooling at nirvana. So these are the kinds of people worthy of our support and offering. This is the standard, if you like. Yeah? What kind of people should we support? What kind of people should we associate with? These are the kinds of teachers, monks, and nuns. So, in summary, the Buddha says, if you have all this wealth, and all this wealth comes to an end, then you tell yourself, wow, I'm happy because my wealth has been well spent. If you don't do all this and you waste your wealth, then you really will regret it. Say, oh, I wonder I'll be rich, I'll do this, I'll do that, but too late. Right? So do it while you can afterwards. Then the sutta closes with a verse. Wealth has been enjoyed, dependence supported, misfortunes have I overcome. Uplifting gifts have been offered, the fivefold offerings too have been made. Placed in the morally virtuous, who live the holy life restrained. The benefits of wealth that the wise, managing their homes, would wish for, that wealth I have gained, done never to be regretted. Wandering thus, the mortal man stands in a noble Dharma. Even right here he is praised, hereafter he rejoices in heaven. So happiness here, happiness next time also. So the sutta ends here. Okay, we have a few minutes. Any questions?
You mentioned about just now the 3 worlds, sensual world, the form world, and the formless world. What are the other form and formless world that
No, these are the 3 main worlds.
what is the form world?
Oh, form world is jhana worlds. In other words, it's called fine form. It is more like their mind is very purified and happy. Okay?
Formless, there's no physical body like ours. So that's called formless world. These are the three kinds of universes, if you like.
I mean, the mind exists by itself is formless world.
Yeah, it's pure mind. Pure mind. The form world, they are like devas, pure light, if you like. Alright? Whereas in the formless world, you don't even see them.
Brahma, where is your form world?
Brahma is form world. Yeah. So you have Deva world, Brahma world, and then formless world. So this is in terms of meditation.
The spirit world, for example,
When we talk about spirit world, we're talking about tradition, what the local people believe. Okay? Different cultures have different spirits. So Indians believe in yakshas. But you come here, nobody has heard of yaksha. So these are cultural beliefs. These are fears in the minds of the locals. Maybe they went through certain cultural experiences. So they give a name to it. And then over generations, these stories begin to grow, begin to take shape. And the artists make it even more real. Any other questions?
Yes, one question I do not know how to answer is I've been asked a couple of times. We always say that the Buddha is not a god.
Okay.
And yet, you go to the Buddha and ask for blessings. So, how would the Buddha bless us?
Okay.
Especially when you're sick,
Well, you see, there's the two ways of talking. Those monks are talking to the common people. They find it tiresome to say, talk the way I talk. But they might not understand. See, I mean, you all are sitting here, you have some level of intelligence, you can follow what I'm saying. Even then, I don't think everybody can sit here right 2 hours all the time, So, what the monks have done, they have simplified the language. They say, okay, you come to the Buddha, you ask for things, but make sure your mind is focused, right? So it's a way of talking. In all religion, there is this kind of asking for things, beseeching. So here, we must understand nature of karma. In other words, number one, the fact you have done good karma, we work on that. Some things may not happen because somehow our karma, we have not built up the karma. Karma doesn't mean past life alone. You can cultivate it now. Okay, normally we say pupa karma. Pupecha kata punyata. Remember where that comes from? Mangala Sutta. To have done good karma in the past. We all have done good karma in the past. But sometimes we are not reaching it because of distractions, because of not knowing what it is. But the moment you do something good, like now you listen to Dharma study here, it's called Dharma Desana, Dharma Sakacha. Dharma Desana means Dharma teaching, Dharma Savana, listening to the Dharma, Dharma Sakacha, asking questions, discussing. These are all great lessons. So you're doing it now. So what you do now is Buddhist prayer, in other words. You recollect all these happy things, good things you have done, good karma you have done, maybe your generosity especially, and then feel the peace of that giving. And then you say, by the power of this good deed I've done, may whatever good thing you have in mind, may this sick person recover quickly, or may I recover quickly. So this is called act of truth. So this is a very common way of a Buddhist prayer.
You are radiating karma to the sick person.
Yes, and also loving kindness. Chanting also works like that. You find the monk will chant the sutta, and then towards the end you listen carefully, the monks will say, by the power of this truth, etena satcha vajjena, may you be well, may you be happy. See, so do something good, and you say, by the power of this goodness. It's just like someone comes and wants to attack you, and then you say, oh, you remember not, when you were young, how your mother raised you, take care of you. So what you do, you're invoking compassion, you're invoking a happy memory. So the person think about it, say, okay. So you use your good actions, which is the center of good karma, and so your mind also is at peace. And you say, by this power, may whatever you want to happen. Of course, whatever you want to happen must be something good also, Now, I'm not saying something bad won't happen, it will, but then it is bad karma. And we don't want that. The bad karma is really bad. So you see, karma is such that it grows, it's not arithmetical, it's exponential, it can explode. So sometimes you do one good karma, wow, a lot of bad karma, a lot of good karma will come back to you. Sometimes you do one little bad karma, a lot of bad karma will come. So you do very careful. So the Buddha says, do not underestimate the power of good karma, drop by drop. Goodness collects like water dropping into the pot. Remember the famous Dhammapada saying, right? That's why I say, at the end of this study, this is a wonderful time. You have sacrificed your time, you have come here, you could be doing 1,000 other things on a Sunday like this, but here you are sitting here struggling with the sutta, listening. So at the end of it, we say, I've spent my time here keeping the 5 precepts at peace with myself. By the power of all these good deeds I've done, may I be well, may I be happy, whatever you wish for. Of course, I help you. I said the most important thing is may I attain stream winning in this life itself. And then we share loving kindness with other people. Who are the people important? People who come here weekly to work, facing a lot of difficulties. People who come here, may they be good people, may they be people who are seeking the Dharma. So these are things we want to have a quality life in our lives. Any other question?
One separate, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Does a person have the power or have a lot of merits in order to every day pray for somebody and transfer and wishing people well and that? Must that person be have a sort of power or enough of the merits to give up?
That action itself is meritorious. That action of what we just said just now, this person doing it daily basis, it's itself good merit. How do you measure merit? These are things scientists cannot measure love, cannot measure goodness. That's why in Buddhism we use the word immeasurable, apamanya. This is what is different in Buddhism and science. Some people like to say, oh, Buddhism is scientific. The scientists are laughing and they say, no, I'm a Buddhist, but science and Buddhism are very different. Science measure things. Buddhism say cannot measure. How do you measure love? How do you measure goodness? Right? The Buddha said a single thought is enough. The Buddha said you meditate loving kindness for one thought moment, just a time you just go to the cow and you pull the cow, the milk come out once. For that long, if you can cultivate loving kindness, you have followed my teaching. It tells the monk you are worthy of eating the alms food that people give you. So what the Buddha is saying, you just need one thought. From one thought grows many more thoughts. So you can't measure it. Maybe you have done only one meditation, you set for meditation once, and after that you have no chance. But then in the future you recall, wow, the moment is so peaceful. And then it goes again. So every time you reflect back that happy thought, it grows. That's how goodness grows. By looking at the good side of your life, the bad side you don't have to worry, it will come to you. But the good side you must make some effort. So suffering will always be there, but look at the good side. Then the suffering will go into the background. They will enrich your life. Like painting, you see colors, and then you got background, black color, but it's not all black. The black enhances the painting. So our suffering will enhance our life. As I said, the Buddha is the one who has suffered the most. That's why he can teach us what not to do. So don't be afraid of suffering in that sense, but learn from it. What is this suffering telling us? What do I learn from this? What to do, what not to do? So this person who thinks of others and wish others well and happy is also practicing. Right? So that's why it's good to send our kind thoughts to other people also in that sense. This loving kindness practice. Yes?
I want to ask this question because I heard of this Dīgha. I'm not sure whether you know him. He has a favorite word which has been used quite recently, intervene. Intervene. Even Ajahn Brahm spoke about intervene.
Oh, yes.
So can you elaborate a bit more on intervene?
Yeah, interbeing is simply interdependence, paticca samuppada. He's saying that we have this idea in Buddhism, but there's no one word in English to reflect it. We do have a word, it's called interdependence. It's such a big, long word, So he's also a poet, so he said, why can't we use a shorter word, interbeing? So interbeing means, in a sense, our lives are interconnected. I don't know whether everything in the universe is interconnected or not, because some philosophy tells us that everything in the universe is interconnected. But I find it very hard to relate. For example, if I'm kind to my cat, someone in another planet far away also is benefiting. I find that a bit difficult to relate, you know what I mean? But a simple thing like all of us here, because we are gathered together, our lives are interconnected. We cannot live alone. So this is our interbeing. Coming here, studying the Sutta, we relate to one another, we help one another. That's our interbeing. Interbeing, our karma also are interconnected. Because when you suffer, we also suffer. So why not raise our happiness in such a way that everyone is happy? So interdependence. Interbeing means whatever we do affects others. Whatever other people do also affect us. So we should use loving kindness. Interbeing, interdependence. Okay? Okay, one last question. Yes?
First of all, I want to say I'm a fan of yours. I read your stuff.
Oh, so you cool me, all right.
Yeah. But I really respect what you're doing, and it makes me think. Because as I journey on Buddhism, we learn some basics and then we go. So the question I'm going to ask you is I'm starting to object to the translation of the word transference of merit.
Oh, all right.
In our mental formation,
Yes,
we
yes.
think of some deva
Yeah.
entering, Hokkien say jipiao,
Okay.
or I can transfer. Actually, other scholars say that it's a wrong word.
Yeah.
It should be sharing of merits
Okay.
rather than transferring of merits.
Well, happy to hear that. So you're very well educated in Dharma. I've been writing a lot about this. I'm very happy I hear it from you. Because I'm one of those people who often wrote that transfer of merit is wrong. There's no such thing, right? Because how am I going to transfer merit? First of all, you can't measure it, right? So how can I transfer? I can't. I cannot transfer goodness. But something is happening. Let's say if we all sit here together and then somebody is very suffering here, we tell this person, we all wish you well and happy. Oh, this person feels very happy. Something's happening to this person, but yet, what is it that is transferred? Nothing. Of course, we can say, yeah, thoughts. But thought is not a thing. So what I use in terms of merit, I use the word dedication of merit. For example, when we do rituals, about merit making or dedicating merit, we say, may so and so be well and happy. We must dedicate. This is the Tirukkuda Sutta says. You must remember the person's name. So I thought dedicate is a good word. So, because if you don't dedicate, this person won't benefit. It's like, let's say if I'm dead and floating around here and watching you, and you don't mention any names, I say, oh, these people forgotten me, or something like that. So you got to have a connection with a person that you want to kind of make happy.